This is the Uncanny Omar, and I'm hanging out here at IDW's booth. They were kind enough to let us sit here, and I'll be interviewing some Transformer artists that have worked at IDW for quite a while and have made a lot of our stories. So, join me. I get to talk to one of the coolest Transformer artists, Andrew Griffith. How's it going, sir?
It's going pretty well. How you doing?
Good. Thank you, and thank you to IDW for letting us film here in this really cool booth.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was really kind of surprised by what they did this year.
It doesn't even feel like I'm at a convention.
Right, it feels like I'm in a little coffee shop.
Yeah, feels like we're having some coffee. Transformers. Man, you guys are leaving a huge legacy. Like, that was the stuff I grew up with. Did you also grow up with Transformers?
Oh, for sure. Like, I was 8 years old, and my older brother came home from school saying all these kids were talking about this new toy line, and we ran out, and my parents took us to the store. They ran us out to a store, and just saw a row full of these Japanese-looking robots turning into cars and planes and guns and trucks and stuff, and it was perfect for us. We were just sold right away.
So did you start doodling Transformers when you were a kid?
I did, but I was horrible at it. I draw like Spider-Man and Transformers and G.I. Joe and all this stuff, but like I could never get Transformers to look right until I was an adult. At some point I sat down again and started drawing, and it just started clicking.
Okay, so you drew Transformers, and you drew all kinds of series at IDW. You did, and then you did some inks as well through some of those series.
Well, I usually would like pencil and ink my own stuff, so I was mostly known for Transformers, but at IDW I also did G.I. Joe, Star Wars. I wrote and drew some Star Wars for the Star Wars Adventures. But mostly I was known for Transformers because that's where I got started and everything.
When Transformers was wrapping up with Phase 1, did you guys have an idea there was going to be a Phase 2?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we weren't really sure where it was going to go, but and I think David, the editor at the time, was like, taking pictures from different people of how they wanted to go and trying to decide, and they ended up going the way they did, So, but we for sure knew there's going to be a second run. We just didn't know exactly, creatively which way it was going to go, for a while.
Yeah, I will say it changed so much, and I loved it. I loved the directions it was going.
I was just glad that the first round of it got to wrap up with Unicron, So many times, like, when there's a relaunch like that, it just kind of stops. So I'm glad they got to, finish up the story and everything.
And you guys are leaving a huge legacy behind of those stories, because while I grew up with I will say this, and I've said this a lot, while I grew up with the cartoon, while I grew up with the toys and the Marvel comics, the best incarnation of Transformers was the IDW. Phase 1, 2, and 3. Like, oh my gosh.
Well,
it was
even at like how many characters that came out of our books that are in the movies now and the cartoons, like Windblade and Drift and Tarn, is super popular, and he's getting a toy now. And they've made so many toys based on our character designs from the comics. So like, yeah, it really left an impact on the brand.
Yeah, I was loving it because at that time the toys were coming out, and some of the toys were like, oh, this is the stuff I grew up with, and then some of the toys that people that only watched the cartoon would be like, who the hell is that guy? And it was really cool. And you guys popularized so many characters that were so obscure in the toy line that really never made it into the cartoon series too.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I really feel like we added to the mythos of Transformers, and we built on the overall mythology of it, I guess you'd say. But like, it's just, I feel proud of what we did. We had some really good stories. People really seemed to react to it, respond to it, and I hope that can continue with new comics going forward.
Oh yeah, I think it will. That will carry on. That's why they make I love the hardcovers. That's why they made those, and there are always going to be new people that find out about these, no matter where the license ends up. Unfortunately, like, hopefully they're smart enough, whoever ends up with the license, to reprint a lot of those stories that you all did as well.
So. You'd think so, because they still reprint all the old Marvel stuff and everything.
Yeah, they did. IDW did that. How did you first start getting into comics? Like, were you a comics fan, or?
Yeah, right away when I was a kid. I mean, the first comic I ever bought was Secret Wars 8, when Spider-Man gets his black costume for the first time that ends up becoming Venom. And at the same time, Transformers was just coming out. So I was all into that. I was all into early G.I. Joe, Larry Hama stuff. So I eventually got to work on the All American Hero series with Larry Hama here at IDW.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. Just getting to work on the same book that I read since I was a little kid, you know, when it first came out. It's just unbelievable. The same continuity that I had read and been a fan of. So yeah, I've had a lot of great opportunities with IDW. A lot of great projects to work on.
Who was your favorite character to draw? Like, who did you have fun drawing?
From Transformers?
Anything.
Oh man, that's so tough. You know, I think one of my highlights for me was when I got to write and draw Star Wars. You know, that's something I never thought I'd get to do. And Asajj Ventress was really fun to draw from the Clone Wars because I love the Clone Wars series and everything. And I thought she was a great character.
And who did you find the most difficult to draw? Because I think that's one thing that people don't realize, how when it comes to like drawing robots, it's a lot different than drawing like people, humans, like even Spider-Man. It's a little bit trickier with his body, right?
Yeah.
But drawing robots that transform into things like microscopes or guns or airplanes, like it's a lot more difficult and convoluted than what it appears.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how difficult Transformers can be because, like, you know, every person has their own body shape and style and stuff, but like robots have entirely different anatomy from each other. Transformers do, you know. Some will turn into a plane with big wings. Some will turn into a truck with big wheels and windows for a chest. Every single one has their own anatomy. So you got to like look at reference and you got to think about what they're actually transforming into and have some idea how to draw a car and a plane. It's like, it can be very challenging. And then all the mechanical details and everything, it's almost like you need an engineering degree, you know, to draw these guys sometimes. So the Transformers can be very challenging to draw.
Did you have a character ever in any of the series, not just Transformers, that you were like, oh man, I got to draw this character in like 18 panels?
Well, that kind of happens with any character. Once you've drawn them in like 20 pages in a row, you're like, oh, I got to draw this character again, you know? So it's always nice when you can mix it up, get to draw somebody you haven't been drawing a million times. I don't know, like every once in a while I get a little tired of drawing Optimus Prime because I was doing a book where he was the main character. Yeah. And at first it's like, this is amazing. I get to draw a character with Optimus Prime. You know, a book with Optimus Prime is the main character. And then by the end of it, you're getting a little bit like, all right, I don't need to draw him one more time. Let's draw somebody else, you know.
Now, where can people find your work now?
I'm on like all my social media. I go by Glove Studios, Glove like a hand, Studios like an art studio. On Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So ArtStation, DeviantArt. You can just look my name up, look up Transformers, you'll find me.
Do you have any current projects you're working on now?
Nothing I can really talk about. I do have a few creator-owned original things in the works that seem promising, but I nothing I can announce yet. Yeah.
So, out of your entire career, like outside of comics, what else was a highlight? Because I found out some things about you that you did that I don't think a lot of people realize. Like was it the Matrix?
Oh yeah. Oh, that was a highlight of me of my career. It was pretty early on, but they re-released the DVDs of the original Transformers series in a box set, and it was a really clever box set that they had me illustrate the cover for, where it slides open. It's the Matrix of leadership, and it slides open, and then a flap comes up, and instead of like the circle in the middle of Matrix, it's the DVDs, and it's just a really clever packaging design, and I'm really proud of that. Never thought I'd grow up watching the cartoons, and then, you know, here I am illustrating the cover for the collection of them, you know, it's just amazing.
It's a beautiful box set. I don't care if DVDs ever go out, you know,
I
stuff.
like having the hard, real material myself to collect it on.
Oh yeah, physical media is where it's at.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Couldn't think of the word physical media.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for joining me, brother.
For sure.
And yeah, I'd love to see your work and future projects, no matter where you end up, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
And now I have artist extraordinaire EJ Su. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
And I want to thank you for joining us. So EJ, your artwork has been inside the comics, but you are also responsible for the designs of the original hardcovers, like the front cover and the back. I love that design. Was that your idea? Was that like IDW that approached you?
IDW approached me, asked me about doing something a little different. Usually, cover they would ask you to come up with ideas, and they would approve the ideas, and you just go right to the cover. Graphic design wise, it's all IDW, but this particular collection, they want to do something a little different, and they asked me to come up with all the treatment and how all the graphic element goes on the cover. And I thought I want to go in with a more prestigious look for the cover design. So I figure, what could be better than just, I want to try to make it a little more not only elegant, but artwork. I want it to be, it's sort of like traditional, and give it a little more, weight to it, so to speak.
It definitely stands out. Like, I know what most people see are the spines when you're looking at books, right? Like in bookshelves. But those covers and the back cover, I love the idea of a zoom in on a face and the detail. On Megatron, I think it's the first one. Like the amount of detail you put on his face. And then on top of that, his hand, because they're all holding like a gun, or their hands are on the back cover. I thought that was a really cool take. So, were you a Transformers fan or a comic books fan first?
I would say I'm more of a comic book fan. Comic book in general. When it comes to Transformers, I was actually the fan of Microman first.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so when I was little, I read Japanese Microman comics, and I came to start collecting some of the toys. The toys were pretty hard to come by back in Taiwan, so it's very valuable when you can actually get your hands on a Microman toy. And usually it's very rare. The toys are very rare, and most of the time what I get is one of those brochures that come with the toys. And I remember seeing, real life object that turn into robots, and that really grasped me. And I gravitate toward these kind of not only fantastical but also realistic aspect of these transforming robots.
When doing the work that you did in Transformers, was it that, I'm not sure how to word this, like, was it easier for you? Did it become easier for you to draw robots than drawing humans?
In a way, I think it's easier to draw robots, even though it takes more time to draw robots. To me, robots are just, square boxes and basic shape that's stuck on each other. There's a lot more detail. I mean, it's more set. The objects are more set in stone, rather than human bodies. There's a lot of finer details, like vein, like how muscle move when you are in different position. But robots, it's just pistons and gears and all that kind of stuff. As long as you put them in the right perspective, they're gonna look all right.
And your robots always did. Like, they looked amazing. Who was your favorite character to draw? Not just in Transformers, but anything that you've drawn.
I'm gonna say Hulk from Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. You like drawing the Hulk? That's awesome.
Yeah, for some reason, probably because sitting down drawing all day, my anger kind of built up. So that's a way for me to release my anger or something. I don't know. It's just some way for me to channel my energy.
I I get it. Yeah, it's got to be frustrating to draw the same character sometimes over and over, and depending on the story. What are you working on these days? What covers or internal artwork?
I'm kind of all over the place right now. I have a original graphic novel with Skybound,
Okay.
and they haven't announced it, so I'm actually in volume 2, and each volume is about 180 pages. So I've been working on that for a long time, behind the closed door.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of cover for Marvel,
Yes.
Ultraman covers.
Yes. I grew up with Ultraman and Ultra 7.
Oh, okay.
So I was a fan of that.
Yeah, so I'm lucky to work with a lot of my childhood heroes like Transformers and Ultraman and Voltron and a lot of stuff. And right now I'm a regular artist on one of the Marvel's web comics.
Oh, okay.
It's called Test Kitchen.
And so the Skybound book that you're working on, this creator on, is that due out in 2023 or 2022?
We actually don't have a publishing schedule yet, so yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it to see what kind of publishing schedule that we have. Right now, Skybound normally they want to get a good volume down before they actually release it. So I don't really have a publishing schedule for that book.
So in all your years working either before IDW, what's been your favorite thing that you have drawn? What can you look back and say, I'm very proud of that piece or that comic or graphic novel?
That's pretty tough to say. I think as an artist, you always, like, when you draw something that you're really happy with, the next day you looking back, it just doesn't look as good as I saw yesterday. It's really tough to say that there's something that I'm favorite, but over the years, everything has some special meaning to me. I don't know. I think the Infiltration, the whole series cover, that's probably one of my favorite thing to do. Because I don't think back then there were anybody doing those connecting cover. It was actually panoramic. It wrapped around from issue 1 to issue 6 back to issue 1. So the process is a little complicated because I have to work on, if I'm supposed to turn in issue 1 cover, I'm supposed to work on issue 3 cover at the same time. That's how they will connect.
Oh, so they would connect like that.
Yeah, and issue 6 cover right back to issue 1. So in other words, I'm working on 3 covers at the same time. That way they will connect to each other and then wrap it back to the first cover.
So is it crazy to think about a young little EJ looking at toys, Microman, and then years later you're drawing a lot of the figure and creating figures for the new lines that are out there that Hasbro has been putting out for toy lines based on the drawings that you did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're little, you look up to these characters, and then one day you grow up, you get to be so close to these characters and get to redesign. I mean, what can be better than get to redesign Optimus Prime.
Oh man,
Yeah, it just doesn't get any better than this.
I have toys of your redesign of Optimus Prime. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you? Are you on social media, in case people are wondering where to pick up your new books or to look at your art?
Well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. My Twitter and Instagram is just EJSu28. And Facebook, I think it's the same thing, EJSu28.
Okay. We'll tag you on this video then. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And now I have Livio Ramondelli.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, sir. I am the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to talk to you.
So, you have worked on Transformers, and I think out of the gentleman that I interviewed earlier, your art really stands out in a Bill Sienkiewicz kind of way, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, no, I can see that. I like to do like atmosphere and that kind of thing in my work. So, yeah, and Bill's great. So that's high praise.
It's a high praise. Yeah. It's one of those things. Like I remember when he took over New Mutants, and I remember when he was, a lot different than like Bob McLeod. And when I saw your art, I was used to a lot of the artists that had not a similar style, but it was definitely animated and geared towards that anime style.
Sure.
But then when you came in, it's like, what is this guy doing to my Transformers?
No, for sure. I mean, I think, especially at that point, I think there was less different styles on the books, that people were used to. Now, I think there's a lot of different Transformers artists. I mean, like, really, like, more abstract, more painterly, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah.
So you actually worked on a lot of the,
Autocracy. Yeah.
My wife has an English master's degree, and I'm like, how do you say that word? And she was like, I don't know. So you worked on that and a lot of the ASCII series, I guess. Is that what they're, like, they all end?
Yeah, monstrosity, primacy. Yeah. Yep.
Was that, so once they got your art style and, like, once they were like, hey, let's make all these books, because there was a hardcover with just, like, a trilogy of those series.
Yeah, they eventually collected, like, the Autocracy trilogy, which is primacy and monstrosity as well. Yeah.
And so did you know that there were going to be follow-up stories to that?
We hoped for it. Like, Autocracy was an awesome project. Like, it was me with Flynn Dilley and Chris Metzen, and it was like, that was a dream come true. Like, the story we got to tell, this kind of Optimus Prime origin. And then we all were hoping we get to do more. So, yeah, it was nice to finally do 3 and have it all collected and stuff.
So that's where I remember first seeing your artwork was in those miniseries, and then you started doing some of the ongoing series, and it made me happy to see you do those stories, because the ones that you did focused on Optimus Prime, like going on out on his own adventure after he gave the Matrix away. And I thought that was really cool that they got you back to do those, because also your art looked like it would take forever to do, like on a daily basis, or how fast can you draw a page?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Like, I mean, all Transformers is pretty labor intensive in terms of like the projects. So I'm generally a page a day person, and most people in comics kind of aim for that, because just to do the books monthly, that's the grind of that. I mean, that's why we tend to take breaks too. A lot of us do issues, then we'll step away for a little bit, because that monthly pace is just really, really hard. So,
were you a Transformers fan first or a comic book fan first?
Oh, I was both. Yeah, I grew up loving Transformers. I love comics. Probably Transformers first because of the cartoon, and then I got into comics probably when I was like 12, 13, and then, Transformers comics as well, but growing up it was the cartoon first.
So growing up, who was your favorite character?
Still the same one as today, Optimus Prime.
Oh, yeah. That's so awesome. And how did it feel? Because very few people in life get to love what they do for a living, right? How did that feel to come back, in your adult age and draw like a character that you loved?
It was wonderful. I mean, I felt really honored to do it because I knew how much like those characters meant to me growing up. So getting to do it professionally later, I was like, I loved it. I knew how much it meant to other people. And so you work on these things and then you kind of pass the baton and, it'll continue on with other people. So yeah, it was great.
So when did you first start drawing? Like, when did you first start doodling and then decide to go to college? Like, how did all this come about? Like,
yeah, I was drawing since I was as young as I can remember, like most kids do. I just continued on, and that was the thing I liked the most. I was really wanted to devote all my time to. And then I hoped to be able to do it professionally. So I was lucky enough to go to art school later on, and that led to everything that's happened since. So,
Do you find it easier drawing them than humans? Like you get so used to drawing robots that turn into trucks and guns and whatever, but do you find that easier than drawing just a human sitting down and having a coffee?
Yeah, that's a good question. I found almost universally artists are either better at humans or better at robots. It's really rare you find someone who's really, really good at both. So robots are way more my cup of tea than people are. Like I try and get better at people, but I'm way more comfortable with a robot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you hate the guy that can do both.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're rare if you think about it. Like most people, I mean, we all try and do it, but it's like, and also like some of the best superhero artists ever, they'll say how hard they find drawing Transformers too. So,
Yeah, you take a guy out of his element, or somebody that's been drawing comics, like superhero comics, out of their element to draw giant robots. It's like night and day. I think was it Joe Mad did like a little X-Men and Transformers thing, and I'm like,
that's cool because he's kind of an exception too, because he comes from such an anime manga background that just incorporate like Battle Chasers is so cool. It's people, it's robots, So yeah, he's kind of a weird outlier, but a lot of people like they kind of go one to the other, But yeah, his art's amazing.
Yeah. So you who did you draw inspiration from? Like, who are some of your favorite artists? I mentioned Bill Sienkiewicz, but I don't even know if you like his art, but like who did you like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Bill. I mean, I was just into like Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, like not even necessarily guys where you look at my work and you see the style, But Alex Ross is a big one for me because that was the first artist that I really got interested in coloring, because he was drawing and coloring his stuff. Yeah. I thought I would just do line art for a long time, but I realized how much of the color adds to it in the atmosphere, and so that was a huge one for me. And then a lot of like concept artists, a lot of the Star Wars concept artists guys, like, yeah, they were big.
So how does it feel to have like toys that are based on some of the artwork that you've done?
It's really cool. I mean, it's like, it's a real honor, but it's also funny because you wish you had the toy first, because it'd be like, this would be easier to draw. Like, this would help,
Oh, right.
So yeah, like turn it around. But yeah, it's cool.
Man, so what are you working on these days? What are you projects or things you can talk about, I guess?
Yeah, so I created a new science fiction series that IDW publishes called The Kill Lock. So that was like a real passion project. I loved making it, and we just wrapped the sequel to that. It just came out like I think a month ago. So yeah, I'm going to continue that world though for sure.
All right, and is that available in trade paperback?
The first trade is out for the first series, and the sequel trade comes out in February.
How much of the series do you have planned?
There's definitely going to be at least one more big third series, and then hopefully some other material too.
A good trilogy would make a really good hardcover.
That's very true. That is very true.
Just saying.
I agree.
So before we wrap up, where can people find you, like to see your artwork and things like that?
Yeah, Instagram is the best place. Just my name, Livio Ramondelli. Twitter, and I have a website as well, but Instagram is the thing I'm most active on.
Okay, we'll put that in the description of the video. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.